After 17 years of marriage, I found out that my wife cheated on me, but I only care about myself while she struggles to live. I'm so devastated right now, I don't even know where to start. I found this forum because this is all I can think about all day and I can't tell anyone. Please have mercy. I've been married to my wife for 16.5 years. We've had our ups and downs. And when I met her, she was the kindest, gentlest woman I'd ever met. I told her I would marry her. 2 minutes after we met, we had 2 children, and they were everything to me. After the birth of our second child, she became distant, depressed, and different. I thought she was depressed, but she refused to get treatment. She wanted to see a counselor, but it was the recession, and I was barely making ends meet with 4 jobs in my side business. I couldn't afford to pay an extra $50 a week, especially since she refused to talk to me. When I asked her what was wrong, she always said she didn't know, but sometimes she would get better, sometimes she would get worse, sometimes she would be fine, and sometimes she would be terrible. After we got back on our feet, I begged her to go to counseling with me, and she finally agreed, but I don't think she liked it. We went to see a woman, who I think thought she was just going to tell us that everything I was doing was wrong and that I needed to do better. At first she did nothing of the sort, but instead told me the same thing. I didn't know how to work, so my wife said she needed more help. In 2015, since then, I have had 3 jobs. Cleaning the house, emptying the dishwasher and sink every day, helping with the laundry, taking out the trash and organizing things in the house. Things got better for a while and then she became mean again. This time she started scolding my daughter a lot. Finally, I pulled her aside and told her I would never divorce her. I would work hard to make our marriage better, as long as it took. But I don't think I can allow this to happen because my daughter is so like me and she takes her venom out on her. So if she wants a divorce, that's what we'll do. The next day she says she wants to try to save the marriage. Things are okay for a few years and she even goes to the doctor and gets antidepressants, but insists on taking the lowest dose. Fast forward to 2020, and she's mean and disrespectful again. What's worse is that she speaks with a tone of disdain, and she makes disgusted faces whenever I show up anywhere. Sex was never a problem for us. We seemed to enjoy each other. But when she was in a bad mood, she held back. I never cheated on her, even though as a bartender I had plenty of opportunities to do so. My sister told me she just thought I was cheating because she knew my wife hadn't had sex with me for a long time. I told her I would never cheat. And here we are. Last month, after a wedding, we stayed in a hotel. I tried to cheat on her, but she told me straight up, "I don't want to be with you. I think we should get a divorce." We agreed, but for the sake of the kids, we decided to wait until after the holidays. 10 minutes later, she fell asleep. I laid there in bed and cried for 3 hours. I thought that was the most painful experience I'd ever had. And then, just a week ago today, she had to go to my daughter's softball team party, which was at midnight. She wasn't home, so I checked our Life 360 app and saw that she was at Applebee's. It was strange, but I assumed she'd just gone there for a drink with friends. She ended up staying until 1 a.m., but the restaurant closed at midnight. I asked where she'd been, and she said she'd gone to a bar with some people from the party, but never mentioned Applebee's, which was strange. 2 days later, she said the owner asked her to set a password on her phone because she needed to check her email for work. Today, I became suspicious. Her mother called and asked me if I could help her husband move a carpet, so I went. When I finished moving it, he was standing outside, looking at the Life 360 app to see if she had finished work yet. She hadn't, so I decided to give it a try. My wife has a bad habit of needing to make a phone call, so I gave her a call, and she said briefly that she had to go because she was talking to her mother, who was standing right in front of me. Okay, I went home. When she got home, I asked her how her mother was. When she told her that I had seen her today, she said she hadn't, and asked me where I had seen her. I said at her house, and her face fell when I called. She tried to make some half-assed excuse, but eventually admitted that she'd been seeing someone else for a few months. I was devastated. 10 minutes later, she was acting like nothing had happened. I don't know if it was to spare the kids or because she didn't care that she broke my heart, but I suspect the latter. I can't even talk to anyone about it because we kept it a secret and we agreed to divorce so no one would tell my kids. We have to go to the Christmas village tonight, so we were worried all night. My kids know something is wrong with me but just think I'm in a bad mood. My son really said, "You sound hurt. I just don't know what I'm going to do." The prospect of divorce is stressful enough, and I've lost 20 pounds effortlessly in the last month. Just wondering how we can do this without losing my house. Over the past 15 years, I have paid off $10,000 in credit card debt, $155,000 in student loans, and $45,000 in car loans. Now, I owe her at least $40,000 on the house. 0, which will be painful, but I think I can do it. I was finally starting to mentally prepare for divorce, but this betrayal hit me like a ton of bricks. Over the past month, she has hurt me in ways I never imagined. I don't even recognize the woman I married anymore. I don't even know what to do. Our daughter will be heartbroken when we tell her we're splitting up, but I don't even know if I should tell her about it, because I don't want her to hate her mom. I'm lost, confused, incredibly stressed, and heartbroken, and I look at my wife, and she just seems to not care. Thanks for listening. I don't even know if I'm writing too loud or too far off topic, but either way, I thank you because getting it out and off my chest has helped me so much, even as I type this I shed more tears. Thank you. Update 3 months update from day okay. So it's been 3 months since I originally posted, and it's been a really fast time. Please forgive the length of this post. I received a lot of advice when I first posted, and you can see the original story by checking my submission history, but I decided to go with my gut and continue. So far, so good, but not as good as I'd hoped. Considering it's only been a few months anyway, a week after I posted, I found the guy's name and found the name of the person in a FB message sent from her computer, which was apparently the only way they communicated, most likely because H is married with 3 children and H is also a doctor, while Rich is a message that really hit a man who works 3 jobs just to survive at Christmas. I found out that she told her entire family, including my sister and cousin's wife, that we were getting a divorce, while I still hadn't told anyone because I was afraid it would reach my children before the holidays were over. My mother was devastated and thinks she's made the biggest mistake of her life. My sister and her best friend felt the same way. She didn't care. Of course, I couldn't talk to her mother about it at Christmas, because she started crying. I didn't want my children to know, so I arranged to talk to her a few days later. The next day, my wife and I sat down and had a talk. I told her that I didn't want her to see the man again until things were sorted out. It was disrespectful. If she wanted him to divorce his friends, she wouldn't treat her friends like that. She agreed. Then we discussed how to divide the assets. I think I did pretty well. No alimony, no child support, 50-50 custody. We both provide the kids with clothes. Everything else is divided equally. I get the house, I have to pay her $43,000 in assets, and in the end she leaves with about $40,000. She owes her father $110,000, has a credit score of 800, and 0 debt, thanks to me. When I finally went to talk to her mother, I found out that she had confessed to her mother when she found out that we were going to talk. She initially lied about having an affair, but then she told the truth when her mother asked. After I got angry, she cried to me, afraid that I would cut her out of my life, which I assured her would never happen. Fast forward to mid-January. I'm now 40 pounds lighter and I go to the gym every day to relieve stress. Now we have to tell my kids. I told her I would not lie to my children, but I would also not directly name her. I said that if they tried to steer the conversation away, she said she felt the same way. The problem is, I knew this would not get my daughter's approval. She is like a 14-year-old version of me, and she can see through everything. Before we could say anything, my daughter asked if we were getting a divorce. We sat down and my wife said yes, and the kids broke down and started crying. I saw them cry, and I started crying too. Then my wife made a big mistake. She said, "Look, we both want this." At that point, my daughter flew into a rage at her. She shouted, "My father would never want this. You want this. Look at him, he's crying. I've never seen him cry in my life. This is you." Then she asked my wife if she was cheating on me. My wife tried to change the subject, but she didn't succeed. She screamed at her while cross-examining her, telling me the truth over and over again, until my wife admitted it. After that, I could see her brain working as she pointed out every single thing that was suspicious over and over again, until my wife admitted it all within 3 minutes. She got more out of my wife than I did in a month. Afterwards, I talked to the children alone. My son, who is 12, needed me to promise that everything would be okay and that as little as possible would change. Although now I can see that H is afraid that things will finally come to an end. My daughter told me that she cried because she said that it was me and not her, because I must have been hurt. I comforted her and made her feel better, and then she asked me to promise her, because I never go back on my word to my children. She asked me to promise that if it all ended, and if my wife lost the new house and needed to stay here for a while, I would let her stay here. She could ask for anything when this happened, and she took care of her mom. Couldn't refuse, and when she spoke to her mom, she asked her to promise not to talk to that man anymore. 2 weeks later, she broke her promise, and since then, she has started sneaking out to meet him again, for half an hour at a time, at places like Target. I caught her again, and we had a big fight, and she promised again that she would stop seeing him even though she still talks to him. Apparently, she has feelings for him now. Hey, like I said, she can't, my daughter. So eventually she will realize that she has broken her promise. T doesn't need me to tell her now. I'm refinancing the house and she is looking for her own place. She has her rich Aunt Co vouching for her. So hopefully she will find a place soon. And one more thing, I know this will cause controversy in this subreddit. Yes, I have proof. Yes, I know everything about this guy, but I decided not to tell his wife. It's not a glorious thing to say, but my motives are completely selfish and self-serving. The truth is, if I tell her, they'll get divorced, and then when my wife leaves, she'll have a ready-made relationship waiting for her. A man who's still very rich even after the divorce, who takes her on expensive dates and wonderful holidays, helps her pay the bills, etc. While I'm doing my best to hurt this man, I want to hurt her even more when she leaves. Her days of sneaking around are over, but they can't date. They can only meet at her place and have to leave as soon as it's over. He won't give her money because it might reveal his wife's whereabouts. Now she's falling for him and wants to know if he'll abandon his wife and family for her. If he does, great, he'll have to do it on his own. I won't help him with that dirty work. This is what happened with her rich aunt. She married a married man, the wife found out and left, and she moved in. She went from being a broke single mom to a millionaire. This could happen to my wife, but I won't help her achieve it. Thanks for reading. I still read this subreddit a lot, and it helps me a lot. Be therapeutic and try to be a little more friendly. I know everyone won't agree with everything in this post, but try to understand that every situation is different. Thanks. Update 2, 16 months since I found this place, so if you check my post history you'll see what's happened. After almost 17 years of marriage, I found out that my wife was cheating on me, so the divorce was finalized in August this year. I promised the children that their lives would change as little as possible. I kept my promise, and in August we finalized the divorce. She had been looking for a house for the whole time she had lived here, and she had placed 16 bids, all of which had been unsuccessful. I found the house she liked around the corner. I spoke to the owner, and he basically agreed to give her the house and not accept any other bids. Without me, she would never have been able to buy the house. That made me feel good, because my children are now less than 30 seconds away from me. Our divorce settlement was very favorable for me. No alimony, no child support, and 50-50 custody. Alimony, no child support, 50-50 custody. I kept the house, she kept the title. I was able to reinvest before interest rates skyrocketed. I basically redid the house after the split, divided the furniture, swapped some things, changed the pictures, focused on that. My kids kept a positive attitude, stuck to the gym, which is great. I've been really nice to her, which has reassured my kids and helped them adjust to everything. She even came to Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve at my sister's house. People think I'm crazy, but I've let go of my prejudices and helped my kids celebrate the holidays normally, which makes me happy. Fally, I'm doing well. I'm not sure, but I think she's struggling. She was never good with money, and we were supposed to split everything equally, but the kids needed more than food and clothes, and I ended up paying more than I'd budgeted, but I didn't mind because I knew the money would be spent on my kids in December. I met a beautiful, wonderful woman who lives about an hour away, and she's divorced with 2 kids. We can only see them a few times a month because of custody issues, but she's really great and makes me happy. I don't know what my ex's dating life was like. I don't know if she's still seeing that guy. I know she's been with a few other guys, but I haven't asked about it. I do know that 3 weeks after she moved out, she went out with a guy one night and ended up getting mobbed by 4 girls and beaten up. As for the guy she cheated with, I'm not gonna lie, it makes me laugh. We have some mutual friends, and I told a couple that his friends saw him with his family at an event and started talking in front of them, and they mentioned my name, saying that I found out that my wife was cheating on me, and they said that I knew the man but hadn't taken any action yet, and then they started saying things like if that person decided to go after him, they wouldn't find that person's body for 50 years and so on, just laughing at his embarrassment without showing any emotion, because they knew it was him. I don't think my ex-wife ever told him I knew about it, so it was probably a nice surprise for him. I'm sure the three of them will eventually bump into him. I don't know how it will turn out, but I'm not going to go looking for him. So, 16 months after D-Day, I have a new girlfriend. I have a great relationship with my kids, a happy work life, good health, and a good financial situation. I feel like my life couldn't be better. So if someone is in this situation and needs some advice, I would say to stay positive and don't let resentment and negativity take over your life. If you don't have a lot of money, try to sit down and come to an agreement with your spouse without a lawyer. That way you can actually take some money with you. If you have children, try to maintain a friendly relationship with your spouse. I know it's hard, but you're doing it for your children, not them. Exercise is a great way to relieve stress. Find a gym and start exercising. It will help your mental and physical health. Remember, every situation is different. Find what works best for you. When they leave, remember that they are gone and will not come back to you. Even if they do come back, it may not be for your benefit. Trust is gone, so move on and find someone who is worth it. If you are not the type to constantly try out dating apps in the world, such as Rhubarb Bumble, they work. I know this update isn't as satisfactory as some people in this sub would like, but it does solve the problem for me and my child, which is what I really wanted, so I'm much happier now than I was after the first post, and I think that's what the sub is ultimately about, so thanks for all the kind words and support. It's going to help a lot with the next story. Story 2. I caught my girlfriend doing this on her app at a friend's wedding, so I exposed her, and now she's broken up. My wife, 32, is a woman and has always been my biggest supporter, especially in my DJ career. In fact, we met at a school event in 2011, when I had just started DJing in our town. We hit it off immediately, from our interests to our music tastes and favorite bands. At first we decided to date as friends, but soon we knew there was something deeper between us, so we quickly started dating. In 2013, we got engaged, and to celebrate, we traveled together. We often reminisce about that trip, and we listened to the entire Third Eye Blind catalog and sang along to all the songs. We got married and formed the special tradition in our marriage, which is to watch as many of our favorite band Third Eye Blind's performances as possible. We insisted on attending their concerts during their tour, and in the 9 years of our marriage, we have watched a total of 9 performances. It has been a fantastic journey full of shared passions and wonderful memories. Last night was supposed to be our 10th time seeing our favorite band. Can you believe it? We've also been married for 10 years. And our anniversary is just in November. I had a wonderful plan for us. A concert, a stay at a fancy hotel, and a super romantic night. To top it off, I bought her a beautiful custom necklace made of gold with her name and her favorite lyrics engraved on it. I had saved up for a year to buy this special gift, and I knew she would love it. The day of the concert and our 10th anniversary, I came home from work and found my wife getting ready. As always, she looked beautiful. I was so excited to give her the necklace and concert tickets, so I opened my work laptop bag and took them out. But then I noticed my phone on the table ringing, with a notification. I couldn't help but be curious, so I clicked on the message and found that it was from an unknown number, which read, "How was your day? I miss you so much. When can I see you again?" This was too shocking for me. When I saw the message on her phone, I felt a strange pressure in my chest. I couldn't help but browse through their chat history, and with each message I read, I grew more and more disgusted with my wife. I mean, how could she do this to me? That was the only question in my mind. The worst part was when she mentioned that he needed condoms, and he replied with a picture of a pack of condoms in his car with the words, "already used." I couldn't help but wonder if they had used them. But honestly, at this moment, did it really matter? I didn't want to spend another minute at home, so I grabbed my work bag with the concert tickets and the necklace I'd given her. I needed some space to process what had happened before confronting her. So I jumped in the car and went straight to the concert. I'd paid a fortune for VIP tickets, so I thought he would probably use them. After driving for about 15 minutes, my wife called me, sounding surprised and annoyed. She asked me where I was and what I was doing. Can you believe she had the nerve to ask me that? I was so angry that I told her I was on my way to the concert because she had already enjoyed her private performance. There was silence on the other end of the line, but I was so angry that I didn't want to continue the conversation and hung up directly. I was still in shock and couldn't believe what I had just found out. At that moment, I felt numb and didn't know how to feel. Then she called me back, as if it were a performance. She started crying and tried to explain that they were just friends and nothing had actually happened between them. But I couldn't stand her excuses anymore. I felt like she had never respected me or truly loved me the way I loved her. I reminded her of how I had gone out of my way to buy her expensive gifts for our special anniversaries. And she fell silent, then suddenly pretended to cry and asked me what gift I had prepared for her. I felt like she was trying to manipulate me into feeling sorry for her and forgiving her. I was fed up with her lies and theatrics. I told her at the time to leave me alone and be with whoever she wanted. But she insisted that we talk like adults and wanted me to come back, as if I were the childish one who stormed out. I saw through her plan, even though she intended to play innocent, make me feel guilty and then try to seduce me. To be honest, just the thought of it made me feel sick. I never thought I would be attracted to my wife. The idea of being intimate with her, it was all just too much for me, so I went to the concert, and when I handed the ticket to the guy at the entrance, he looked at me and said there were two, meaning he also needed to scan the other ticket. I must have been in a daze because I just stared blankly at him and answered yes, there were two, and walked in. I was like in some kind of weird trance or hypnotized. Anyway, the show was incredible. I had a great time and thoroughly enjoyed myself. In the end, I even made friends with some cool guys in the row in front of me, and we sang and had a great time together. But I must admit that, considering everything that had happened at the concert, some of the lyrics that night made a difference to me. I felt full of energy, dancing and screaming with the crowd, as if I had released all my frustration. The loud rock music drowned out everything else, and that was just what I needed. After the concert, it was still early, and I wanted to sit at the bar and have a drink, but the thought of talking to someone other than the concert crowd made me think again about the lyrics and what I had discovered. I couldn't get rid of those thoughts, so after the concert, I went to the bar for a drink with my wife. But when I woke up, I was alone in bed, and about 30 of her emails had poured into my inbox. It seemed that she hadn't slept all night, and her emotions were all over the place, filled with guilt, shame, and even anger. Surprisingly, some of her emails were full of anger at me for going through her phone. Reading these emails made it seem like I had done something wrong, which was so untrue. She pleaded with me and left voice messages expressing her regret over the expensive gifts she had found out about by checking my emails. She begged me to answer her calls, hoping we could talk things out and that we could salvage our anniversary night and make it a night to remember. It turned out to be a memorable night, but not in the way I had imagined. When I finally saw the real person I had married, it took me almost 12 years to fully realize it. The worst part was when she threw out all the cards I had written to her over the years: anniversary cards, birthday cards, Christmas cards. I had always poured my heart out and expressed my deep love for her on the cards, something I had never done for anyone else. She had written such sincere cards, although she hasn't done so for many years. I think her intention was for me to read these cards and soften my heart, to remember how much I love her, and for her to hope that I would be reasonable with her, that we would talk things through, that we would ultimately forgive each other and create a better future together. But instead, reading these cards made me realize how little she loves me. That night, I painfully realized that despite living together for almost 12 years, I still hadn't seen my wife for who she really is. I realized that I needed to accept the reality and decide what was best for both of us.